Hello everyone, welcome back to another ClopFic. Today we're going to do the sequel to The Sun's Desire. Without further ado, let's hop right into it. Workout, The Moon's Lust. Surely you can't be serious. That little runt was able to do all that, Luna snorted, lightly sipping from her cup. Most stallions are lucky if they can go 2 minutes. Tell me, Celestia, how could something as small and feeble as David be capable of doing that? More to the point, what were you thinking, sister? We are royalty. We do not copulate with peasants. My sister finished, scrunching up her nose in annoyance. Luna, he is kind, compassionate, and treats me like a mare, not some goddess who can do no wrong. I was exhausted. I needed to let my hair down for once, I retorted, rolling my eyes as my sister crossed her arms angrily and gave a childish huff. I daintily sipped on my tea, trying to ignore the ire I felt towards my sister's bigotry. You are so royalty. I am sure you could have found a suitable noble. Why would you degrade yourself by soiling your bed with a dirty peasant? Luna said. Oblivious to the seething glare I sent her away. You could have any stallion, I held my glare. Or mare, if you are into that sort of thing. Yeah, you settled for that weak little insect, Luna continued with a crunch. The empty cup in my hand was reduced to tiny shards. My eyes narrowed as I looked down at my sister. Like it or not, Luna, I have feelings for David, and if you truly wish for me to be happy, then you will accept it, I hissed. How could you have feelings for such an insolent vermin is beyond me. Can you not see that you are acting a fool? Luna spat, losing some of her demeanor as she stood up. You have let your pettiness blind you to who David is as a person. All you see is the David that was so hurt and lonely that, feeling no other option, lashed out at us. Since then, you have warped it to him being a selfish and nasty piece of work. He has not been that human for 7 years now. If you had not been so peg-headed while making such wild accusations against him, you two might have actually become friends, I spat, clenching the table, my temper starting to get the best of me. You spend more time with that damn ape than you do your own sister. He is trying to split us apart, Luna retorted, slamming her hands down on the table with an inaudible crack. I am telling you this now, sister. Either you will accept that I have chosen him as a potential mate, or you will keep your mouth shut about him when you are around me. I finished, slamming the shards of the ruined cup down onto the table. If you wish to act like a love-struck fool, then fine, but do not come sobbing to me when he breaks your heart. Mark my words, sister. He will show you his true colors once he has used you. Luna snarled, her eyes watering up. She turned on her heels and stormed out of my room, slamming the door shut behind her. The force of the slam left cracks in the walls. I let out a sigh, rubbing the bridge of my nose. I then got up and paced in small circles. Angry at her childness, the nerve of her saying that was incredible. Accusing David of trying to use me. He had been nothing but kind to me since we became friends. He had never bullied any pony or used his status as my friend to bend others to his wants and needs. Why did Luna always have to make everything so damn complicated? I groaned, spying the unopened bottle of wine sitting on my nightstand. I decided that a glass of wine was exactly what I needed. I struggled to pop the cork and immediately became flustered. My fingers shook as I silently fumed about Luna's piggish ignorance and the blasted cork. You know, you're an alicorn princess that moves the sun. You could just use magic to open that, a voice spoke up from behind. Now even more flustered, I grasped the corkscrew with my magic and pulled. A reassuring pop let me know that the bottle did, in fact, uncork. Not even 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you're already on the booze? David chuckled, his soft voice soothing some of my nerves. David wrapped his arms around my waist and rested his head against my back, drawing a content sigh from me. His fingers worked their magic on my belly and felt the stress melt away in his embrace. I think I am entitled to a small pick-me-up after that, I growled, while pouring 2 glasses. I pulled myself from his embrace and then turned to offer him a glass. Yeah, I think everyone in the whole castle heard that little argument, David said, giving a thankful smile and accepting the glass. Collapsing on the bed, David cursed as droplets of wine split on his t-shirt, crimson staining plain white. With a snort, David cuddled into my side, placing his glass on a bed stand. And as I lay propped on one elbow, settling down, one of David's hands idly toyed with my hair, his other wrapped around my waist, his fingers lightly massaging my stomach as I moaned in content. Smiling, I savored the taste of the wine and relished in the warmth from David's body. I wished I could have more time to spend with David, not just fleeting moments like this. Shifting my body, I turned so my body was facing his, allowing me to rest my head on his chest. The gentle, soothing beat of his heart was hypnotizing. His hand massaged my ear, eliciting a moan of relief as I closed my eyes. You know she will come around eventually, David spoke up, souring the mood as I cracked one eye open. A couple of centuries after you are dead, maybe, I snorted. David kissed me on the snout in response. David, whether she likes it or not, we have been dating for 2 months now. She is your senior by 6 millennia. If she continues to act like a child, then I will treat her like one. I finished. Look, I'll talk to her. Maybe I can convince her that I'm not so bad, David chuckled, lightly stroking my ear. I will not hold my breath. If there is one thing my sister is good at, it is being stubborn, I chucked. I see that trait runs in the family, he replied cheekily as I gave an unladylike snort. Too lazy to swat him, I allowed him to go back to tending to my ears, his hands lightly massaging and rubbing the sensitive spots. I could lay here all day, I sighed. I felt content and let myself drift off, forgetting my responsibilities. Why not do something a little more fun? David whispered, his breath making my ear twitch. His hand lightly grasped my right breast, eliciting a surprised squeak from me. Looking up, I gave a shocked expression before it slowly morphed into a slight smile. Rolling over, I pinned David beneath me. Oh, you want to play? I giggled. Leaning down, I pressed my lips against his. Come on, Luna, you can do this, I murmured, pacing back and forth in my room. I had instantly regretted snapping at my sister, but my pride had prevented me from apologizing then and there. Once I had time to cool down, I realized that what I was doing was counterproductive. I did not like David, but that does not mean I could not, at the very least, bite my tongue when around my sister. With a sigh, I decided that the best method would be just to tackle the problem head on. Leaving my room, I confidently made the short journey back to my sister's. The closer I got, the more I felt like I was making a mistake. A small voice feared her anger or nasty retorts that would likely come were I to mess us up. Arriving outside, I sighed, my hands shaking with nerves. I detected a soundproof charm. Had she been shouting, or worse, crying? Guilt eating on my conscience, I pushed the door open. Sister, My voice withered away to a squeak as my face heated up. My sister lay on her back, moaning in a bliss as David, to my horror, was currently thrusting into her. I found myself mesmerized and unable to look away as I placed my hand over my mouth. I watched with a morbid fascination as my sister was rooted by the human. The way he moved and the cries of pleasure that came from my sister left me shaken. No stallion had that stamina required to bring us to orgasm, yet David seemed to be doing just that. My sister gave a small shudder before her legs went limp. Her wings lay spread in a grand display. David rested on her heaving chest, and the two chuckled as they held each other. I could not believe it. The exhausted form of my sister was due to the small little runt that lay in her arms. I could once more be able to please one as large as my sister. I felt a warmth between my legs. My eyes widened as I realized that, in a twisted way, seeing my sister being fucked was turning me on. Unable to resist, my hand snaked down to my soaked sex, and my face sitting up due to the perversity of my actions. With a gentle prod, I pushed 2 fingers into my soaked sex. I placed my free hand over my mouth, stifling a gasp of pleasure. It had been too long since I had last done this, but the fact that it was my sister and her mate seemed to make it all the more naughty. I looked up and froze. My sister's face was looking up at me with shock. I will be back in a moment, my love, Sister giggled, lightly nipping David's ear as she threw a dressing gown over her sweaty form. She barged through her doorway, pushing me out of the entrance with a click of the door. Enjoy the view? Sister questioned. Raising an eyebrows, I bit my lip nervously. I am sorry, sister. I merely came to apologize, I said, failing to make eye contact. I felt Celestia's fingers rest under my chin, ever so gentle, tilting my head up. With a warm smile, she pulled me into a hug, her chin resting on my head. You came with good intentions, sister. I am happy that you came to apologize, and I'm sorry that I snapped at you. Though maybe in the future, plan your apologies at more convenient times, Sister chuckled. I should have knocked, but I feared that my actions had hurt you. When I detected the suppression charm, I thought that I had truly hurt you, that you were in your room crying, I whispered. With a sigh, my sister wrapped me in a hug. The stench of sex and sweat made me cringe. Lulu, I am not upset, disappointed, yes, but you are still my sister and I love you. No human's going to replace you, Sister sighed, nuzzling me. Though looking at the state of your hand, I assume you might try to replace me. Did you enjoy the show? Sister chuckled, winking, my body suddenly uncomfortably warm. What? With him? I spluttered, looking at her in horror. Come now, I saw how you looked at him. Are you telling me you did not want to take a bite? Celestia finished, giggling out my mortified expression. Blushing, I imagined David holding me like he did my sister, with his small but firm hand sliding up my stomach. Shaking my head, I removed such strange and erotic fantasies from my mind. No, I do not wish to take a bite. I am a princess, not some common tart, I hissed. Besides, there are plenty of stallions I could choose from, I huffed, crossing my arms. Lulu, even before your banishment, stallions were a rarity. The war with Queen Thorax, the curse placed on ponies by a necromancer Grogar, and the assault on the Crystal Empire have left us in a critical state. Stallions are rare as it is, and I'm sure that David could be persuaded to see the benefits of two mares, Celestia chuckled. Sister, are you mad? Why would you give up having some pony all to yourself? Besides, what makes you think I would even be interested in mating with him? I replied defensively, though inside I was not completely repulsed by the idea. Despite his alien design, he was by no means hideous. He had a certain charm about him. His gentle nature was an endearing quality that I liked. He is good in bed for one thing. The boy can do things that no other soul can, and honestly I think a little hanky-panky would do you good. I blushed, and in turn my sister giggled. Give me a cheeky wink. The nerve of her being so uncouth. Has she no dignity as a princess? Does she not realize how much of a harlot she sounds like right now? This is ridiculous. I will not sully myself by breeding with her exotic pet. The right stallion will come along eventually, even if I had no luck in the last 3,000 years. I mean, sure, no pony has made marriage proposals like they do to my sister, but they're just intimidated by my presence. Bit by bit, the cold, harsh truth that I was in fact still feared by my subjects began to dawn upon me. At the end of the day, the only ponies that would lay with me would do so only for bragging rights or political reasons. None would look at me with love, only lust for my body and the privileges my favor would offer them. But why should I mate with David? I refused to sleep with him because of my actions of past. I snapped, Celestia giving me a sad look. Honestly, she is out of her mind. Luna, I'm not saying sleep with him if you want forgiveness. What I'm saying is that if you want to unwind and maybe have a bit of fun, I'm sure David would help out. Celestia sighed. You know me, Lulu. I'm not trying to force you to do anything you are uncomfortable about. David is a sweetheart and would be horrified if he thought you felt pressured into doing anything with him. But the last time you took a mate was around the same time I did. It has been a long time, sister. Tia, you cannot be serious. Why would you do that when he is perfectly happy being loyal only to you? He is completely devoted to you, I gasped. Though if Tia is happy, maybe I could try him out for a bit of fun. In the end, if nothing came of it, then at least I would get a good lay out of it. Because I want you to be happy as well, and I think he is perfect for you. His personality is a mix of the two of us, and he shares many of the hobbies we enjoy. Celestia finished. I will think about it. If you want that itch scratched, then David is guaranteed to meet the requirement. Celestia giggled, placing her hand against her mouth. It has been a while, amused, my face growing warmer. Was I blushing? Looking back at my sister, I gave a bashful smile. It has been a while, I repeated. With a grunt, Princess Luna let the barbell drop. The weight landed with a solid bang on the padded floor. With a sigh, the mare wiped her face with a towel, sweat trickling down her fur. With a grunt, she tossed the towel over her shoulder, flexing as a sharp crack sounded from her neck. I kept watch from the side, making sure that she was not overexerting herself. And to be honest, my being here was slightly redundant, as she was using primarily weights. I would occasionally go over and show her how to properly work one of the more complex machines, or lecture her on proper body posture when lifting. It had taken me 4 years of studying to qualify as a personal trainer. I hadn't needed to start from scratch with equine biology, often spending many sleepless nights with Celestia, who has helped me study. The mare had always been eager to help out, and I really should have spotted the signs that she was interested in me back then. Luna's technophobia made it hard to get her to use other machines that were required in her training, and had led to many pointless arguments. Lightly rubbing her toned arms, the mare turned and gave me a patronizing smile as she dumped 1,600 pounds of the bar. With a small twitch of her head, she motioned that it was my turn, causing me to sigh. Walking over, I got myself comfortable, and my back rested on the bench. As Luna lazily picked up the bar, she playfully twirled the bar between her fingers, a silent jab at how much stronger she was than I. Wearing nothing but a gray sports bra and a pair of black shorts, the mare left most of her body on display, leaving little to the imagination. I could even make out part of her crescent moon cutie mark. Walking over, she held onto the bar until I had a firm grip. With a small grunt, I slightly lowered my arms, making sure not to break posture. The bar rose and fell in a repetitive line as I allowed my mind to wander. Despite her dislike of me, Luna took training seriously. She at the very least kept a semi-professional attitude when working out. Unfortunately, the cold indifference towards me had never changed. In my naivety, I'd hoped that giving her time would let her see that I didn't hate her and that I was truly sorry for my actions of the past. But now, I just assumed the damage had been done and that was never going to change. The best thing I could do was just try and make my life here as problem-free as possible. With a strained grunt, I signaled for Luna to grab the bar. When the mare didn't move, I gave a small groan of discomfort and my arms started to shake. Luna, can you grab this thing? I hissed, unable to push the weights to the side. Oh, but it's so much more fun to see you struggle, the mare teased, slowly strutting over with a smirk plastered on her face. Leaning down, her breast came to a rest on the bar, her body weight slowly pushing the bar down. Gasping, I gritted my teeth, trying desperately to keep the bar up. All the while, a malicious grin stretched across her face, chuckling throatily at my pained expression. Pausing, Luna's horn flickered to life, glowing at a soft aqua blue, the weights disappearing. The barbell seemed to come alive, distorting and twisting from its original shape, coiling around my arms and torso like a metallic serpent. Luna, what the fuck? I demanded. The mare looked down at me with a playful smile. Whatever do you mean, David? She cooed, batting her eyelashes at me, humming softly. Luna grabbed my bound form, throwing me roughly over her shoulder. Now come, I have something more fun in mind, she chuckled darkly, the tone making me nervous. With a sharp crack, I felt my body become weightless, and my sight was replaced with a pitch black that left me blind. A falling sensation also left me feeling ill. With a grunt, my body landed on a bed, my eyes strained to focus, but I made out the hazy form of Luna. Still bound by the twisted bar, my struggling was more comical than it was productive, my heart pounding in my chest. I watched as Luna strutted towards me. She paused with a smirk on her face, climbing onto the bed. The mare leaned down so that her face nearly touched mine. You will not get away with this, when Celestia hears. I began, but the cold texture of her lips gently pressing against mine silenced my threat. My eyes widened in shock, unsure of how to process what was happening. Her lips held a hint of vanilla, and her tongue pushed through mine, causing me to gasp. With a jerk, I pulled away. My head hit the backboard and Luna gasped. She held a hand to her chest as a small string of saliva ran down her lip. Unsure of what was happening, I used my legs to push myself up the bed, hoping to put out a bit of distance between me and Luna. The mare had obviously gone crazy. What the hell? I spat, giving her a filthy look. Do you honestly hate me so much that you would attempt to ruin the relationship I had with Celestia? I seethed, aghast that Luna would attempt something so malicious. I will not do this! I refuse to betray Celestia, I said defiantly, silently shitting myself at how I was going to stop a mare that could easily tear a tank in half from having her way with me. A pair of velvet hands suddenly grabbed my shoulders as I was pulled onto someone's lips. Looking up, I found myself peering into two magenta orbs that belonged to a very amused-looking Celestia. The bar that had trapped my arm vanished with a small pop, and the white alicorn propped me up against her chest. Celestia? I asked, my voice twisting into one of confusion. Trust me, she whispered. Her breath ticklish on my ear and making me shiver, Luna crawled towards me and grinned wildly as she set to work on removing my shorts. With a sharp yank, they were flung carelessly onto the floor. Luna paused, her eyes examined my package and a grin creeping up on her face. Are you alright, hun? Celestia questioned. We can stop if you'd like, she whispered. I'm fine, just surprised is all, I replied, self-consciously trying to cover myself. I was uncomfortable with myself, but given their size, I'd always been slightly self-conscious about how I compared. Resting on her hands and knees, Luna examined my package, a wicked smile working its way onto her lips as I tensed. Relax, Celestia purred, nubbling on my ear affectionately. You're bigger than you think, she giggled, making me blush with a gasp. I felt Luna's hand wrap around my member, the softness of her fur gaining an instant reaction as she giggled. Celestia smirked, her breath tickling my ear. For me? How very kind of you, David, Luna chuckled. I think I might just have a taste, she purred, her lips pressing against my member as I flinched. Her tongue lightly swiveled again around the head. Celestia wrapped her hand around the base, resting her head on my shoulder as I lightly jerked her hand up and down. Allow me to help, sister, Celestia spoke up, the two taking a perverse delight in making me uncomfortable. With a smile, Luna parted her lips, her mouth encasing the tip as I gripped the sheets. Luna started to lightly bob her head, her tongue working clockwise as Celestia increased the vigor of her strokes. The heat from Celestia's fur and the attention I was receiving from the two mares left me flustered, my teeth clenched as Luna's tongue teased and prodded at my head, her eyes glowing with mischievous intent. The mare's tongue skillfully dances along my length, her hands resting on my legs. With a grunt, I reached my end, my body stiffening as Luna's eyes widened in surprise. With a splattering cough, Luna swallowed gingerly, wiping her mouth. You missed a bit, Celestia whispered as she leaned forward. With a small smirk, she extended her tongue, running it along the side of Luna's chin. The mare gave a squeak of surprise. Pushing her sister aside, Luna gave me an expectant look, wiping Celestia's drool from her cheek. Well, is it not customary to return the favor? Luna demands, watching with a childish impatience. Posting myself in between her legs, my left hand experimentally brushed against her inner thigh. My other hand lightly traced the alicorn's toned abs, making Luna shiver and bite her lip in anticipation. The sight of a glistening wetness around her sex provided a clear sign that she was ready. My hand gently brushed over her sensitive area, getting a gasp from Luna at the sudden contact. Pausing, I pushed my thumb down, wedging itself in between her swollen lips. Luna let out a sharp gasp and her eyes widened. I casually rubbed my thumb back and forth. Luna's form shivered from the teasing, the mirror biting her lip in anticipation. Her cheeks were a red hue and her eyes were clenched shut, lightly tracing the edge of her sex. Luna gave squeaks of frustration, biting her lip in pent-up lust. "Can you cease with this teasing?" the mirror barked, glowering at my playful grin. Pressing my thumb down, Luna gave a small gasp and her eyes went wide. Pulling back, I used my index and ring finger to spread her sex. With a grin, I pushed my middle finger into Luna, her breath hitching. Adding another digit, I took my time, inserting my fingers, a slow and steady pace. Her teal eyes looked at me with a combination of want and annoyance. Slowly, with a small jerk, my finger parted her moist sex. Removing my hand, I leaned down, my tongue slowly glided across the mirror's sensitive lips. The bitter but pleasant taste of raspberry made me wonder if ponies here each had a unique taste to them. The taste was pleasant and left me wanting more. My fingers kneaded and massaged the surrounding area as my tongue plunging into her sweet spot, gaining a cry of approval. "Oh God, oh God," Luna gasped, her back arching as she roughly pushed my head deeper. Smearing the bottom half of a face in her arousal, I angrily ate the mirror out, enjoying the taste of her. The mirror's soaked sex was not unpleasant, her fur smelling strongly of lilac. Magic and very strict hygiene meant that eating her out was not a problem. The mirror harshly bit her hand in vain attempt to muffle herself, sweat running down the side of her face, her tongue lolling out the side of her mouth. Finally, I felt Luna tense her fingers, clenching as she gave a sharp gasp. Warmth spread over my face as my chin was coated. Spluttering, I pulled away, gingerly wiped my chin, Luna panting in relief. Leaning over, Celeste gave her sister a smug grin and her eyes glowing with a mischievous twinkle. "I told you it was good, no?" Celeste teased, Luna glowering silently as she tried to catch her breath. "He was adequate, but I am still not convinced," Luna replied sternly. "Oh, don't be such a prude. You enjoyed that and you know it," Celeste replied, pushing Luna down, motioning for me to approach. Celeste let out her horn as I felt a strange tingling on my face. I realized instantly that the unpleasant sticky feeling was now gone. Positioning myself so I was comfortably tucked in between Luna's large thighs, I let her place my hands on her waist, lighting myself up with her. "If you're going to be so loud, then I will put that mouth of yours to work," she stated, making sure to leave room for her sister to breathe. Thrusting into Luna again, I watched as Celeste grinds her hips back and forth, Luna gingerly running her tongue along her sister's slit. "Oh, so naughty," Celeste gasped, her wings flaring up in arousal at her sister's teasing. Biting her hand, Celestia's body twitched with every flick of Luna's tongue. The bed shook with every thrust, the heated gasp and sharp squeaks fading as I felt tension building up. As I increased the vigor of my thrust, leaning down, I latched onto one of her breasts, getting the desired response as Luna gives me a muffled squeak. Luna's fur bathed my body in a sweltering heat, leaving both of us panting as I slammed into her with a ferocity that I surprised even myself. My whole body trembled with the rigorous task of holding back my orgasm as I grasped the mare's hips, pulling her towards me as I pushed into her. Luna's hips bucked wildly and our bodies meeting with a sharp, wet slap. Her inner walls caressed me, milking me as I find myself at my limit. With a final thrust, I feel my body tense as the pent-up orgasms explodes. Luna cries out in delight, her hands clawing at my back as I clasp on top of her. Luna's tongue legs wrap around my waist like a vice, making me wince. Her arms pulling me to her chest as she gives a throaty cry of ecstasy. Her wings shiver in delight, knocking over a lamp as her body twitches from the intense orgasm. Celestia followed suit, her wings limp, chest heaving as she slides off her sister. The three of us give sighs of relief, the cool summer breeze chatting over our sweaty forms. The gym workout coupled with the sex left me exhausted as sweat clung to my body. Resting her chin on top of my head, Luna gave a content sigh. Her fur matted. Neither of us spoke as Celestia shifted her head, coming to rest on my chest as the three of us lay in a comfortable silence. Her mane caked in sweat, and no longer had its ethereal-like state as it clung to her head and body. Small strands stuck out at odd angles, her fur ruffled as the mare cuddled me closer. Clearing her throat, Celestia looks at her sister with a small grin. Luna rolled her eyes, giving me an affectionate nuzzle. "Very well, sister. Consider me convinced," Luna spoke up, rolling her eyes at Celestia's teasing smile. A sharp flash from Celestia's horn, removing the sweat and sticky juices as I felt clean again. The mare's humming in content and no longer being covered in juices. I knew you would enjoy it, Celestia replied, burying her head into my shoulder as she gave a content sigh. Yawning as sleepily rolled in my eyes, I felt myself slowly drift off. What an awesome day, I mentally mused. The end. Fucking man, I love that fucking story. Like, some parts I hated it, some parts I liked it. That's what makes a good story, and I fucking loved it. Thanks for MLP for Life for recommending to read this. I had fucking fun reading this, and that's what I love. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you have enjoyed it as much as I have, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.
100,000 stories have filled my head as I look for the answers